is the Jeff Santos Show.
33 minutes past the hour. It is the Jeff Santos Show. Wasn't that a great treat for all of us who are Bruce Springsteen fans, some who are not? It's great to see the locals in New York, New Jersey, who love a guy who represents the state so well. I think you could be governor if you wanted to in 2 days or 2 seconds. It's really great. And one of the things I think is so important here is to keep local music. Our next guest, Mark Taylor-Canfield, knows about that very well, and the Showbox that he helped save with many others in Seattle. And it's so cool, to be able to do it. And again, I told you, I have seen Springsteen play Fenway Park, Boston Garden. I seen him in London at the Amnesty International tour. So I've seen him all over the world. There's a lot of Robert Santa, their lead singer, in friend Bruce Springsteen. So I'd love to get Bruce on politically. It was something today and trying to fundraise for the Democrats, and they had Bruce Springsteen, asking the question. So it's great. These guys aren't very political, so we don't get into that. But Saints in the City, that is. But they are true pros, and they understand the passion that Springsteen brings to his music. And, we're, as Democrats, as progressives, believe that he is critical to communicating with people, you want to throw the working class image in there, whatever. It's there. And that to me is an important piece. Again, look, if you are a Democrat and you go back to, I think I remember seeing him in 2000, maybe in 96 too, but in 2000, he was there with Ben Affleck and, of course, Al Gore in 2004 with John Kerry. Again, I want to say in 2008 with Barack Obama, again in 12, in 16 for Hillary Clinton. And on and on and on. And he's been key, because if you want to win working class votes in Ohio, working class votes in Michigan and New Jersey and New York and in California and around the country, then nobody better than Bruce to do just that. So it's great to hear these guys, and we're looking forward to doing it again. And there are plenty of other bands, as you know. If you just look at the backdrop, if you're actually watching is on video at thejeffsantoshow.com. You'll see a little bit of the YouTube poster I have behind him, my favorite band. And we know of a band in Massachusetts that we're going to bring on in the coming weeks, the Joshua Tree, which is I've seen them several times. We had them play at some events when I ran the Boston station. They're fantastic. And there are others around New England to do all that. But we have the real thing in MTC, and he joins us from the great city of Seattle, WA. He is the Renaissance man. He is with yellow guitar. He is the fantastic Mark Taylor-Canfield, and we say happy fun Friday to Mark Taylor-Canfield. Hello, sir.
Cool. Hi, Jeff. So how you doing, Mark? And then I look at my mood ring and I say, well, it looks like I'm doing okay. I don't know if you can see that, but there it is. It's an old style mood ring. And it's TGIF. It's Friday.
That's right.
Although for us musicians, we don't really get a break on weekends. But I do have this new song I'm working on. So I wanted to give you an excerpt, Jeff. It goes something like this.
Please do. Please.
On the fourth day of Christmas, my country gave to me good, affordable health care, uncorrupted leaders, and a great new strong democracy.
All right. I love it. That's a good way to take a very
I forgot another
song.
One. A free press for the people, good, affordable health care, uncorrupted leaders, and a great new strong democracy.
There you go. Put that Partridge Tree in there, too. Mark Taylor-Canfield leading us off here. We had a Bruce Springsteen band just before you, so you had the lead in of Bruce. It's so great. I want to get your thoughts about your music career and playing with some fantastic guys in there and gals in Seattle. when you have to bring together, different members of the band and all that kind of stuff, to be, who you are and so forth. Talk to me about that.
Well, I was born in Seattle, so I'm one of the few people that can claim that, since, we've grown so extensively that, most people here call you a native if you've been here for more than 5 years, Jeff. But,
right.
And believe me, the change has been so fast.
Right?
Well, no, actually, my mother is from Michigan. I moved away. Okay, so I was born in Seattle. I moved away when I was a kid. I spent a bunch of time in Olympia, Washington, going to the Evergreen State College, which if you've never heard of, is like this crazy alternative great college, kind of the hippie school is what they used to call it. Where, my teacher asked me, "Why are you in college, Mark?" And I said, "Because the parties are so great." I mean, we had so much fun there. But I also studied music there. I was trying to get into the electronic music program, and the Evergreen State College had such a great media library for the students that I could literally get an individual contract with a faculty member, and that was Lloyd Colfax, whose son-in-law was actually a member of the group Bread, by the way.
Right.
David Gates. And yeah, and I do cover one of their songs called Mother Freedom. You can see my music video of that, mixed with all sorts of protests from around the world up on YouTube. It's called Mother Freedom. But he sponsored me, and I was able to go to the media center and check out recording equipment, violins, trumpets, synthesizers, electric guitars, amps, anything you needed, microphones, anything you needed is available there at the media center, so that you can just check it out as a student and use it. So I found myself getting 18 credits a quarter, Jeff, just recording and composing my own music. And I thought, wow,
not bad.
Why am I paying tuition to do this when I could just go to, Seattle and do it? In the meantime, I ended up in Europe, and some of my computer music, my musique concrète, as they call it, won some international awards. So I got to stay in France for a while, in Bourges and Paris, then spent some time in London, where the music scene was incredible. Although I have to tell you two memories. The first discotheque I walked into in Paris, they were playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Smells like Teen Spirits. I felt totally at home. And then, but when I was in the UK, for some reason, everywhere I went, they were playing Portishead. It's just like in all the internet cafes and stuff, it was all Portishead. But when I came back to the United States, there were only two places I wanted to live. That was either San Francisco or Seattle. And my friend sent me a mixtape of bands from Seattle, including Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana, all of the greats. And I heard this music, and I thought, I got to go to Seattle and check that out. The next thing I know, and I'm playing with this guy named Jerry Cantrell for Alice in Chains later. So I got to meet some great people. And then, meeting some of the, folks like Eva Walker and Cedric Walker from the Black Tones, and some of the great musicians here in Seattle, Sir Mix-a-Lot. And folks, I've had plenty of mentors and plenty of people who have, helped me along the way. But Seattle is the place I moved to for the music. And now and I do journalism. In fact, later today, I'm going to be covering some of the participating in, as well as covering some of the Fall of Freedom events here in Seattle, where artists are speaking out against.
Right. That's a big weekend, right?
Proto-fascism. Yeah, but I will be covering it also as a reporter for Democracy Watch News. So I got my little press pass here.
Here's your little press pass.
But tonight I'll be performing some protest music, and also there's a film series that they're showing all around the country today. Is called Fall of Freedom, and art galleries, concert venues, comedy clubs all over the country are going to be featuring people speaking out against this crackdown on freedom of speech and freedom of expression that is happening in this country. This attempt at what I call indoctrination, where the right-wingers in the White House right now really want to just stamp out any kind of progressive or liberal thinking. But I have to tell you, folks, we have a new Democratic Socialist mayor in Seattle, so I don't think it's working very well. If that's any indication.
Mamdani today was in the White House and standing over Donald Trump and telling him and telling the rest of the press pool gathered there, I'm the mayor of New York City, or just about to be. And, you want to play some hardball questions? Go right ahead. I'm all in, and I'll fire right back, which he did. It was very impressive. I was actually concerned that he was going to end up with a Zelensky scenario with what happened to the leader from Ukraine. But this was completely different. And, Trump was on his best behavior because, Mamdani is on the way up and Trump is on the way down. The faster, the better. So there you go.
Jeff, I have to tell you, it reminded me a little bit of my favorite coach, Coach Carroll, who's now down in
Oh yeah,
Vegas.
Pete Carroll. We got to get him
Raiders.
on, man. I'm a big fan. I know him. He's been on my
I love that
show.
they asked Richard Sherman on Thursday Night Football when the Raiders were playing that night if Sherman had got a chance to talk to Coach Carroll. He said, "Yeah, of course." He goes, "Well, how's Coach Carroll doing?" And he said, "Man, the guy's in his 70s. He's a total optimist. He sees a silver lining in everything. I don't think he's had a bad day in his life." That's Coach Carroll. So Coach Carroll, at his first press conference in Seattle, and they just did this documentary about the Seahawks on a local TV station, which I really appreciated. But they show Coach Carroll. He walks into the press conference, and everybody's like, "Why did you leave USC? National champions. Why are you coming to the NFL where you're obviously going to be losing with this team?" And he said, "Because I like a challenge. And if you're going to challenge me right now, let's go. I'm ready." And he gets up and he's like ready to rumble. It's so funny. I'm like, "Go, Coach Carroll, yeah!" And he ended up taking the Seahawks to two Super Bowls and winning one. So, I mean, hey, he's a great coach, and I really am inspired by him too. So, kudos to all the people in Seattle who keep this unique culture going. And today we're going to definitely be celebrating that, Jeff. And I hope people around the rest of the country too will try to check out one of the Fall of Freedom events that are happening in your community. You can go to falloffreedom.com to find out more about it. There's also a bunch of events happening tomorrow in galleries and music venues.
Talking with Mark Taylor-Canfield here, Executive Director of Democracy Watch News, the great musician in his bands. And, of course, he's also a great activist and a great friend of the program. Every Friday here on the Jeff Santos Show, before we say goodnight for the weekend and goodbye, we get to hear and a little bit of music and a little bit of fun conversation with MTC. Interestingly enough, as we're preparing for the interview with Saints in the City, the cover band for Bruce Springsteen, I got a text, of people who want, to do right by gun safety and other issues. And they were using Bruce Springsteen actually as a way to help raise money, right? Give the $5, give the $20, whatever. And it's very funny, the impact that he has had. And Jimmy Kimmel, when he was in New York, interviewed him recently. And, Springsteen, obviously well aware, like pretty much every other American, about what happened to Kimmel and understanding about media and corruption on the right wing and so on and so forth. And it's, to me, is so important. And that to me is why music counts so much in the country and in the world. I mean, we were talking the other day, I think it was with Alan Minsky, about the fact, or maybe it wasn't Minsky, but it was somebody we were talking to about the impact of Peter Garrett of Midnight Oil and his role in Parliament and in the cabinet, actually, in Australia. And, it's worldwide, the influence of music. And, of course, someone like Springsteen is worldwide. I actually got to see him as well as Tracy Chapman, Peter Gabriel, Youssef Nador, and Sting, who headlined back then in 1988 and at Wembley, and it was one of these shows. I don't think they do this anymore. But my cousin and I ran into Wembley Stadium, the old one that they built the new one now. And we ended up getting to the front row. It's insane and really dangerous. You think about the Cincinnati stuff and all that at Riverfront Coliseum, but that's what music does. And I remember Springsteen, and it was like it was yesterday, these guys from Scotland singing "Born the USA, Born the USA." I'm like, this is a little bit too much. But yeah, it's fantastic. And, Tracy Chapman, has some Boston roots with the subways here in Boston. And she was singing. It was so amazing. And Talk About a Revolution and Fast Car are two great hits. And it was so calm, the crowd of 90,000 people, Mark, and you understand this, that you could hear a fire engine go by. She had the people in the palm of her hand to hear a fire truck go by, and that's the power of music, which you understand.
I think it's interesting too that when she was playing that song, that a siren went by. It's kind of appropriate if you're talking about a revolution. So I've had that happen too. Actually, there was a time when I was playing in Olympia at a pub there where we had a PA system that was picking up the truckers 10-4 good buddy as they drove by. So that was pretty interesting, right in the middle of the song. Yeah, you have to be careful on Capitol Hill in Seattle too, next to those radio towers. If you're going to try to listen to something on the mixing board with a headphone with a long wire attached to it, it'll just pick up, NPR, this 50,000 watt station, which is like 2 blocks away at the tower. So you have to build little Faraday cages actually sometimes, to do stuff like that. Luckily, I don't live near the tower now. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the segment with the band. It's always good, like I said, to have more rockers on these shows. Politics is full of people who do things like what was it? MLK was talking about. People who spend all their time analyzing. We spend a lot of time doing that. But musicians are out there in the community. They're playing every night somewhere. They're meeting people. They know what's going on the streets. They're really connected to the community and their fans. So I think they're great representatives in the media to talk about some of these issues. And artists specifically should be more concerned about freedom of expression than anyone else, because we've had many examples with the Robert Mapplethorpe series and all of that. By the way, there's a great movie about that that stars James Woods, which is interesting. One of these times, maybe we should get into this conversation about why some of these Hollywood actors like John Voight and people are going so crazy right wing. I don't get it, because
I know.
I've heard James
Voight and
Woods
in
very
particular
positive things about Trump. If you look at his movies, they're all very liberal kind of messages. So I don't know how that happens. Maybe you have some insight into that. I don't know.
I'll have to find out to get my Hollywood connections going. Talking with Mark Taylor-Canfield here on the Jeff Santos Show. Phone number to join us is 833-545-5333. But I think, as it's an artist weekend, and you should give that website out again, Mark, before we go. And I think that it is important to cherish these folks. A lot of them, I used to say this about athletes years ago, they have second jobs and so forth, to support themselves. But it is so important to have these folks. And, and obviously you have some bands that want to have their own music, that's just great. I mean, all the stories of Bruce and U2 and Pearl Jam, and all these folks started in a lot of different ways. But, if you do a cover band and you have other jobs, but, it's just something to me that I think it brings joy to people and in a lot of cases inspires people. And that to me is an important part of a devotion to doing something you believe in. And I think that's why I admire you and all you do, and why we call you the Renaissance Man, because you're involved in so much. But I think it's really critical, to keep supporting, local music as you have done. And, we talk about the Showbox, I think it's called, in Seattle. And, this is really important of community. And if you want to, we always talk about the political part of it, support your community, think of it as one big, large community around the country. This is the part of it. And, if you have a bad music scene, that means that the quality of art in your community is suffering, maybe because it's been, just sort of vaporized by the political right in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important that a democracy has a healthy arts and cultural scene. At Democracy Watch News, we definitely cover arts and cultural events, because without that, without free expression, without the arts and without artists involved, it's not really a democracy. It might be a technocracy or a theocracy or something else, or an oligarchy, but you definitely need those artists there at the White House, and it would be nice if we had a president who would be more welcoming to artists. Like, I'd love to see Bruce Springsteen in the White House, with Mamdani, that would be great. But yeah, it's really important that people support the arts. So don't forget to support your local artists. And if you have a friend or family member who is struggling, trying to get their art out there, do whatever you can to help them. I mean, a lot of times it's a lonely road. Writers, same thing. They're sitting at home, writing these great novels or whatever that nobody knows about. It's really important that artists feel supported. And that's one of the things I appreciated about the French culture when I was there, was that there were a lot of cultural events sponsored by the Ministry of Culture and UNESCO and other cultural organizations that, really helped make life better, made the quality of life better. It's healthier for people, I think, when they have freedom of expression and the arts to celebrate life, the joie de vivre, as the French would say. I think it's especially important these days. And it's important that artists also interject themselves into the political system and into political movements, because without, the Bob Dylans and, the Tracy Chapmans, we are much less of a movement. I think you definitely need the artists involved to kind of lead the way and be the vanguards of these kinds of movements. And we need more of that today. Obviously, in the late 60s and early 70s, there was a lot of that going on in the pop and rock music scene in the United States. We need more of that today. It's great, though, Jeff, to see the clubs full and to see people going out, because I do remember, 4 years ago,
during the pandemic,
whether people would ever join together again in public, in a gathering like this. But no, all over Seattle, and tonight is no exception. There will be a film series put on by a group called Movie Mash, which is they actually have a festival every year in Walla Walla, Washington, but they're sponsoring some political movies tonight that they say will inspire citizens to get out there and knock on doors and get politically active.
I love it.
I think the films that they're showing are meant to inspire people to get involved in the community. And we all, as Americans, we need to be much more connected civically. We need to know what's going on in our school boards and on our city council and who's our mayor and what the local transit situation is. Get out there, go to these local meetings and use your voice, because without you, there is no democracy.
Amen to that. We're going to put you in a commercial, man. And look, I think MTC is again, he's a Renaissance man. What can I tell you, folks? But one of the things, you have a couple of minutes left here. Do you feel that the vibe that Mamdani has given off, the electricity surrounding Gavin Newsom in California, and probably, the likely candidate to be the next president and Democratic nominee anyways. And what you're seeing with your mayor, new mayor, talk to me about her a little bit, because we haven't had really a chance to sort of, dive into it. We got a couple of minutes here. What should we expect policy wise, style wise? She's not Mamdani, but what are we expecting there?
Well, first of all, thanks for your kind words, Jeff. I always appreciate that. I think Katie represents a citizen activist type of candidate who is much more used to being out there in those community meetings and direct grassroots democracy. So I'm hoping that she will run her administration that way as well, and really have an open door policy like certain city council members have had here, or my member of Congress, Pramila Jayapal, my representative. I think they are great examples of people with open doors. I hear the same thing about Ilhan Omar and AOC and other representatives, people who are willing to listen and willing to meet with people and willing to make themselves available. I hope Katie can do that. I know it's a big job running, a city with multi-billion-dollar budgets and all that. Luckily, we did divest the city's money from some of these major corporate banks in the past, so that's already been done. And there are a lot of really great progressive initiatives that she would like to push. She's the former co-founder and executive director of the Transit Writers Union here, so she's definitely going to be focusing on mass transit. Yeah, she's definitely going to be focusing on transit. Also, homelessness in Seattle, people who are houseless, is the very deep, severe, systematic problem, and as it is in other major cities around the country. And so that is something that she also wants to address. I think it's just a breath of fresh air, really. And I think people are glad for a new face, a new voice. I know they're already starting to attack her in the corporate media here, making it very difficult for her to get anything done. But that's expected. They did that with the Socialist Alternative Party member, Shama Sawant, when she was our city council member, and she was quite a lightning rod for these progressive causes. I think Katie will do the same. The one thing I can say about her, I like to repeat what she says, because I think it's funny, is that, she says, all the best to Mamdani in New York City. And I just know that she says that she is not quite as charismatic or as well dressed, but she'll do the best she can, and that's very much Katie. She's very humble.
Yeah, that's great.
She's a
very we're gonna have to figure out a way to get her on the show, Mark, and maybe we can do a little combo interview and stuff. Hey, have yourself a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving. We won't talk to you next week because we'll be off, but enjoy, man. Thank you for being you. Appreciate you, my man, and enjoy the weekend this weekend. And again, that website for the Freedom folks this weekend?
falloffreedom.com. And Jeff, you rock. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Always a pleasure.
Definitely, man. Look forward to it. Thank you. All right. I want to thank Kevin producing this program today with help from Robin and Rocky and the entire team in Boca Raton, Florida, led by Freddie, of course. Great work to get that Springsteen out, to get that interview done. Folks, keep on fighting peacefully. Have yourself a great weekend. Back on Monday. My name is Jeff Santos, and I gotta go.